Hey, my name's Zach, and this is the Rossi R92 rifle. This is basically just a little guide or a little taste to see if you want to buy the Rossi R92. I'm going to talk about some good things, some bad things about the rifle, and what I think about it in the end. To start with, I'll tell you a little bit about the rifle. Rifle's chambered in 357 Magnum, flat butt plate. They can come with crescent butt plates. This one is obviously stainless. They can come in blued as well. 20-inch round barrel on this one. They can come with 16, 20, or 23-inch barrels, or 24. I can't remember if it's 23 or 24. And they also can come with an octagonal barrel, which is almost twice as thick as this one about, if I had to eyeball it. And also at the beginning of this, I will show you that the rifle is clear. So I don't need to keep doing that throughout the video and annoy you and me. Now I'm going to preface this and kind of put a little bit of a disclaimer here. It is 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm off a night shift and I can't sleep, so you're getting this review because I can't think of anything else to do and I'm bored. So again, this is the Rossi R92. First, I want to talk about the good things about the rifle. The handling. This is a very light, nimble rifle. It is very nice feeling in your hands, easy to point, easy to bring up for quick sight picture, quick sight alignment. Cocking it is not only satisfying, but feels nice. It's not as good as a Winchester. It's not as smooth. I felt some original like 92s at gun shows, Winchester 92s, and they are great. They feel phenomenal, especially after they've been worn in over like 100 years almost for some of them, even longer. But they feel great. This feels good, not as good as a Winchester, and the part is that doesn't feel as good. It isn't that initial cocking stage. That's about the same. It's this last bit, that last little, about 1/4 of an inch where you're actually raising the lifter. I'm trying to show this while you're cocking it, that last little bit. That is the only part to me when you're actually working the action that feels better on Winchester than the Rossi R92. Like I said, good on the Rossi R92. Could be better. But for the price point, not bad considering this is brand new and you can't get a Winchester for brand new prices for one of these unless you want a beat up old one or one with some problems or in a weird caliber that you can't shoot anymore. But another good thing about this gun is that everyone loves to shoot this gun, which doesn't sound like something that would matter, but if you're like me and you have a girlfriend or, you know, a mother or sisters and you want to take them shooting, you know, my girlfriend likes guns, she likes action movies and stuff, and she likes cowboy movies too, so we like to go to the gun range and stuff. And I have some other guns like this beautiful World War I 1917 Enfield. This chambered in 30-06 was used by Americans in World War I. And this is a rifle that I love to death. This is my favorite rifle. I think it's the most beautiful bolt action ever made. I think it's one of the most beautiful military surplus guns ever made. But the thing about this is I love this gun. I love to take it to the range. I love to shoot it. My girlfriend, my mom, and my sisters, they can't shoulder this rifle. They can't even look down the sights and hold it. They can't. I've seen my mom was able to hold it out, but she couldn't even aim down the sights. The most she could do is do this and like kind of just hold it up. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to have them all shoot military old surplus guns, and that's not all I own. But if you're like me and you want to take people out shooting, you know, sometimes something more friendly, something lighter shooting, smaller, handier, that could be really useful. You know, this is only a 6-pound gun. That's a 10-pound gun. 4 pounds is a big difference, especially since that's 6 pounds unloaded, and that's almost 10 pounds unloaded, 9.7 something for that Enfield. This is a very nice, easy pointable gun, even loaded, for my girlfriend, who's like 5'5". She can barely lift up any rifle that's bigger than a 20-inch barrel. But she loves this gun. She will plink with this thing all day. And when she fired it for the first time, 158 grain, soft metal. See, this is a 4 AM bit. 158 grain, jacketed soft points, 357 Magnum. And I put that in the rifle, gave her 10 rounds of that, because I figured if she can handle that, that's no problem. We can put 38 specials in it if she wants it later or anything. But after 10 rounds of 357, she turned around, smile beaming, and said, it's like a big BB gun. She loved this thing, and I love this thing. After I put 10 rounds through it, I felt the same exact way about it. This thing is basically like a big BB gun, especially with 158 grains. It's just snappy. That's all it is. It's just a little snappy. But other than that, she's lovely. Not a lot of recoil. Nice, soft, easy shooting. Very fun gun. But, and this is where we're going to start coming into some of the complaints about the rifle. And first, we're going to start with accuracy. Now, accuracy is not bad. This is a group from 30 meters. I hadn't shot in about 3 years before this because I just hadn't been able to go shooting with family. I got my guns license, and that was the first rifle I bought. But this is about a fist-size group, a little over a fist-size group. If we take that one guy out, about a fist-size group. This was at 30 yards. Not bad, until you notice that's a little bit to the left. And then you see my girlfriend's group, where we're not going to make fun of how big this group is, although I made fun of how big this group is to her. But as you can see, her group is leading a little bit left there. We're starting to see some things line up here, and the main reason for that is because from factory, you'll see that hole in the middle of this. I'm guessing that's a tapping point or for a scope or something. But that hole was dead center of the rifle barrel. And as you can see, that hole is not in the dead center of this little open part in the rear sight. It's pushed over to the point where half of the hole is covered. That's because this sight is drifted to the left a lot, and so is the front sight. So at factory, they basically sighted it in so that it would pull my shots to the left. Why? You could have dead centered the sights on the barrel, or you could have slightly lined it up so that the right sight was a little bit more to the right, or the front sight was a little bit more to the left, and it would have hit. This seems like I'm kind of being a little bit like maybe critical of this because it's not such a big deal. I could tap the sight left or right myself, but the thing is not everyone's going to do that. I'm willing to do that. I don't care. I was going to adjust the sight the next weekend, but my truck got totaled and I haven't been able to get back out to the range with a rifle because I only have my motorcycle and I don't want to strap one of these to my back and see how that goes in South Jersey. So I haven't been able to get back out and fix that. And knowing that this gun is off and I can't do anything about it because if I adjust it, I'm not going to know where it's hitting until I go to shoot it. And if I shoot it, I can adjust it there. So it's one of those things where I can do it, but it's just annoying that I have to do it. Why couldn't they have done it from the factory? And the thing is some guys won't do it. Some guys don't give a shit. The rifle came that way. I will shoot it that way. If I don't hit what I'm hitting at, whatever. Some guys just don't care. And they won't adjust their sights. They'll just assume it's the gun's fault. When the gun is obviously from that target, 30 yards, fist-sized group, after not shooting for 3 years, this gun's capable of pretty decent accuracy. Probably much better than that even. Definitely much better than that I showed you. But that just goes to show you can squeeze a decent bit out of this rifle. But at 50 to 60 yards, when I was shooting this rifle, at about the same size group as that target, I was hitting so much to the left at that point that I had to just completely stop. I wasn't hitting the paper. I was having to aim enough to the right or hold off to the right that I was basically aiming at the right edge of the paper to hit almost the dead center of the target. And that's ridiculous. At 50 yards out of a brand new gun, that it's that much off in the sights consistently, that kind of sucks. Another complaint I have about this gun is the fit and finishing of the wood. Not so much the metal. The metal fits together very nicely. I haven't found any complaint about that. The metal is finished very nicely. The brushing could be not to your liking, depending on if you like that brushed look. You can easily polish that out, but I would argue that when you polish it out, it doesn't look as good to me. I like the brushed look. But the fit and finishing on the metal, nice. Wood, not so much. And as an example, let me show you this. This is my biggest complaint about this rifle. Look right here at the wood forestock where it meets the receiver. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Now you can see it. That forestock moves ever so slightly up and down. And that is really annoying, especially since it didn't do that when I bought it. I bought this gun brand new from a dealer here in South Jersey, who I respect and I like very much. I will not name them because I like them, and I don't want anyone taking that out on them that this forestock moved. But the forestock, after I had it for a week, I went to go pick it up. Normally, I didn't manhandle it, grab it, hit the rifle around. I had been babying this thing for a week, including like waxing it and everything for a week because I love this gun. And I went to just pick it up. I went like that, normally just put the rifle down in my hands, and I felt it shift in my hands. And ever since then, it moves that little bit back and forth. I've seen Winchesters and Rossi's that have that problem more. It's usually a problem with older rifles. They get beat up, and the more recoil they have, the more that gets beaten up and the more loose it gets in there. So this is going to get worse over time if I don't solve the problem. But the thing is I shouldn't have to solve a manufacturer's problem. The reason why it's doing that is because the wood was perfectly dried. It was done right at the factory. Everything was done right, except for they didn't allow for the simple fact that coming from, I guess, all the way from Brazil to America, the wood must have shrank a little bit. And I could tell this in a few different areas because right there in that gap where it meets the receiver, it's not flush. The wood is slightly bending out at the corner, like it's being retracted in. Like the edge is basically, if you're looking at the receiver, it's kind of like this. It's like rolled back out, like someone grabbed their fingernail and tried to pluck it back out. It's also not matching right there on the receiver. There's some gaps in between there on the tang. And you could say that that's just from bad finishing from the factory, but what I think it is from small amounts of shrinkage or the effects of humidity from it coming in and out. Not in and out, but coming from Brazil here in America, especially here in South Jersey where it gets humid and then it doesn't, and then it gets humid, and especially in my room where sometimes it's humid, sometimes it's not. It's usually temperature control and they stay in a nice dry closet, but they get affected somewhat. And the wood must have just been swollen enough ever so slightly that it fit perfect. And as it finally dried out here in America, even with the humidity here, it just shrunk up that forestock enough that now it just creaks. Not creaks, but like moves ever so slightly back and forth. And you can hear it sometimes. That is my biggest complaint about this rifle, but honestly, you don't notice it when you're shooting. When you're firing the rifle, especially at an indoor range, you have stuff going off, all the vibrations and everything, you're not going to notice that little bit of play. It's only when you're sitting here handling it and you're actually just using the rifle, because you'll go to do something like this and not even thinking, you're putting pressure and moving your hand in this direction, and it just slightly moves that forestock, and it just doesn't inspire that much confidence in the build of the rifle, which is a damn shame, because other than that, the wood is great quality. I mean, it is very beautiful. This pattern is very nice. It's pretty thick ringed. or pretty, not thick ringed. What's not tight ringed or anything. You can see the cross grain and everything through the stock. It obviously wasn't a very old tree when it was cut down. That may have been part of their problem, is that they didn't very much season their wood before they started cutting it and everything, let alone giving it a lot of time to actually grow. But let's see, we've talked about the wood, the sights. What was my other complaint? Oh, loading. If you've never loaded one of these rifles before, it's kind of a pain in the ass, to tell you the truth. I have shot some Winchesters before, but usually I would have some. I was a kid, and it's pretty powerful spring that you have to actually go against to shove a cartridge in there. And I would have people load the rifles for me when I was like 8 or 9. But now as I'm older and I have to do it myself, it is a bitch. It fucking sucks. You play Red Dead Redemption 2, and you got Arthur Morgan going, filling that up. Nah, that's not. You might have that fantasy. You're not doing that, cuz it kind of is a pain. I found the best procedure, honestly, is the first round. You shove the first round all the way in. You make sure it doesn't get caught on the loading gate. You make sure you shove it all the way in with your pinky. And then after that, for every single round after that, you shove it in all the way up until you can just see the rim of the last round just sticking out of there, still depressing the loading gate. So that way it holds pressure on the round, and you can just push with the rear tip not the tip, use a soft jacketed soft point, flat point too. Don't put pointed ammunition in one of these guns. Oh, that's another thing. Just in case, I wasn't even thinking about that. If you are thinking about buying one of these and you are going to shoot 38 specials or 357 magnums in it, or even 44 magnums or anything like that, do not put pointed ammunition in one of these. Because when you put a pointed bullet in one of these, especially 38 special or something with a nice round nose, even with that little blunted round nose, you can have enough recoil where in the magazine tube, the point of one bullet can connect with the primer of the bullet in front of it, and then you have a magazine detonation. And that in one of these, especially if you have that magazine detonation right here in the tube, not a fun day. So never, ever, 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 no matter what, forever, put pointed bullets in one of these guns. Always use jacketed soft points, flat noses, or maybe even flat nose solid lead cast. Doesn't really matter as long as it's got that flat nose on the very end. You do not want a magazine detonation in one of these guns, and that is basically the biggest hindrance in one of these guns, other than the loading. But you get 10 rounds of 350. Yeah, almost cut myself there. You got to be careful with these loading gates. Seriously, they're not as easy as they make them look in the movies. I had to find that out the hard way, cut myself on one. This rifle has cut me twice, actually. I haven't had any other gun cut me very much over the years, so that's kind of funny. But even with that, I don't really have a hate for it. Cutting me up, it's a bitch to load. Sometimes it doesn't want to take like that. It'll stop on weird rounds. Like you'll get like 7 in there, and it won't want to take the 8th round for a reason. And then you put it down, you grab another round, and it'll take the 8th round. It's probably my technique. I still need to get used to the gun. I've only put about 200 rounds through it. Like I said, over the last few months I've owned it. But this is a great rifle. My complaints, like I said, were 4 stock moves. The front sight didn't come set from the factory. The fit and finishing on the wood is not that great. It doesn't feel as smooth as a Winchester. But it's definitely a great gun. For the goods on it, it's very maneuverable. It's friendly to operate, friendly to shoot. You get it behind anyone as long as you can get it loaded for them. You just hand it to them. You say, this is what you do. You rack it, and you pull the trigger. It's very simple. Everyone's seen a cowboy movie. Everyone can do that. I've handed this gun without even explaining what to do to most people, and they can still figure it out. Because it's dead simple. You run the action, you pull the trigger. It's such a great user-friendly thing too, especially if you're teaching people to shoot. Like I was teaching my girlfriend basically how to shoot over again because she'd only been getting bad advice from her family over many years. So I was teaching her a safe way to shoot. And it's very good to know that they don't have a second shot when you're teaching someone to shoot. So this is a very good rifle for that. You can put 38 specials in it, have it shooting nice, soft shooting gun. You could use 357 Magnums if you want to give it a little bit more oomph. If you have a kid that's like, I don't want to do a little wussy gun. I want something big. I want something that actually has recoil. This is a perfect gun too. It's nice, perfect size for them. It's very lightweight. This would be a perfect gun to teach anyone anything, any type of shooting, gun safety on. I would highly recommend this gun because, again, you have to physically run that action. And if after they pull that trigger, you're good. You know that they do not have a live round in that. And this is the best indicator, basically. This giant hammer being here shows you when the gun is cocked. And it's very obvious to see even when you're like very far away from it. I was on the other side of a range and I could see if my girlfriend had the rifle cocked or not. It's small things like that. That and the classic design. I mean, again, I've been saying it the whole entire time. Westerns. Love Westerns. The first time I ever saw not a Rossi, a Winchester 92 that I really wanted was I was watching For a Few Dollars More. And it's the bad guy in that. The guy who shoots heart into the armor in that. He's using not a Rossi, a Winchester 92 20-inch barrel, black model, a blued model, and his is in 45 Colt. But I just love that scene where he's sitting there on the stairs. He's like, pa, 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 pa. That, as a kid, ever since I was like 7 or 8, and I saw For a Few Dollars More, where he's shooting that armor with one of these Winchesters, I had always wanted, specifically, one of the Winchester 92s. That slab side, that beautiful round barrel, the 20-inch barrel, that design. I specifically went with stainless steel because everything else I owned is blued, and I worry about everything else rusting up, even though I take good care of it and I oil my guns at least once a month. It's still nice to have something I can I slather some museum wax on this, some British Museum wax, and it works great. I don't worry about this thing rusting up. Feels great. It doesn't feel tacky in your hands, by the way. If you like, if you're looking for something other than oil to keep your guns nice and kept, nice and rust-free and everything, and you just want to deal with the outer parts of it, you're not worried about the internals. Museum wax. Highly recommend it. Very expensive, but it's worth every penny you pay. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can think about to say about this rifle other than that it's fantastic. I can't stop singing its praises enough. It has a few problems, like I've said, but nothing inherent to the design. It's just the maker. It's just they have to cut costs to make it cheaper somehow, and the wood is the easiest way to do it, I guess. You know, you don't get as much fit and finish, but if you really want to, with a little bit of work, one of these rifles can be made very, 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 very well. And one of these rifles can be made to look a lot better than it even does now, and I think that this is a looker. The final thing I'll say about this, I forgot about it, I just remembered now, is if you're going to look at one of these, I don't regret getting the round barrel, but if you're going to look to put a lot of rounds through one of these, and especially if you look to like put a lot of rounds in one day through it, like you go shooting once a month and you put like 1,000 rounds through your rifle in a day or something, or you go shooting like once a year and you put like a bunch of rounds in one day through a gun, you might want to go with the octagonal barrel, because 357, 158 grains through this, at least I've noticed, it gets hot and it stays hot. You don't have that the fore end going above and beyond over to over the barrel, but even still, even if it did protect it, it would heat up so much. Your hands don't really mind just sitting on the forestock, but when you're at a range and you want to pack up and leave, or you want to maybe handle the gun a little bit instead of it, more than just grip the forestock, like say you want to actually turn it over to load it or something, it's kind of hard to grab the forestock and wedge it in and get a good grip, especially when the gun is heated up to load it. So if you're going to put a lot of rounds through it, I'd probably recommend the octagonal barrel, the thicker barrel. But other than that, that's all I basically have to say about this rifle. This is the Rossi R92 rifle. It is a fantastic rifle that I would recommend to basically anyone. And yeah, have a nice day. Take it easy.